Josh here. We're talking all about grapes today. So this is titled Heard It Through the Grapevine because we're looking at how to do some summer pruning of grapes. We're going to talk about the different types of grapes that you're going to be pruning. So if you heard this through the grapevine, we're going live today all about grapes. So welcome. We're talking about muscadines, we're talking about table grapes, European style, and we're going to look at a little bit of pruning techniques on grapes. So I'm excited to be here today. Before we get started, I do want to say one quick announcement, and that is that I'm going to be releasing some free gifts for you here in the near future. Super excited about it. It's going to be all about fruit trees. I love fruit. You love fruit. So stay tuned for that exciting announcement. I'm hoping to put that out tomorrow. So stand by for that. All right, so let's go back to grapes. We are looking at some muscadine grapes here. Now this is a variety that I planted not long ago, probably about 2 years ago. And one of the things that I do whenever I'm pruning grapevines is I like to go through and prune in the summer. So there's actually two different times to prune grapes, okay? You want to do a winter pruning of grapes, and then you want to check on it in the summer as well. And grapes have a whole cycle to them. So this grapevine I planted in the ground, and then I just sort of let it go up with like multiple vines here. Then you want to train it down to one main vine, okay? So this one main vine is going to come all the way up here. And that's really year one. Year one is all about getting this one vine to form to here. Year two is going to be all about getting the main support cordon, is what it's called. And so what you do is you actually cut it off at the top, and then it'll bring out multiple supports, and it's going to go sideways, okay? So this is really in year two, maybe year three of a grapevine, because we've already got our main stem here, and we've already got our supports going sideways. So what I like to do in the summer, now again, this is summer pruning. I was talking about winter training later, or before. This is summer. In the summer, I'm just going to go up and take off anything that is not part of this main support system. So all these little side shoots here, we're going to pull those off today. We don't need all these side shoots. And I want to leave two coming across the top. All right, and I'll show you a couple different types later, but this is a muscadine. And for those that aren't familiar with muscadines, they do much better in the south because they are more disease resistant than European style grapes. And you can tell a muscadine variety because the shape of the leaf is a little bit different. So I'm actually going to save this shape so I can show you what the difference looks like once we go look at the other types. All right, so we've got this pruned up here, maybe one more. Obviously you got to be careful, and we just don't want any other branches coming off. So we'll keep this one here. We don't want competing ones, right? Another tip that I like to give here is you want to make sure that none of these wrap around the main support. So what I like to do is check this, and these little tendrils here, see those tendrils? Will wrap around your main support branch, and you got to be careful about that because that'll actually like strangle out the branch. So I like to go through, check this, make sure that nothing around the main branch, and pull that off before they get too hardened and rigid. When they get hard and rigid, they tend to be very difficult to prune off these main support branches. So, and you can actually see an example of one I didn't catch last year. So see, let's see if we can see that. Where is it? Right here. See that right there? So that is one that I did not catch. So I'm going to go very carefully pull this off, or it's going to create a strangling point for that vine, and it's going to weaken it. So I'm just going to go through, sort of pull that little tendril off that's hardened, and you can see what that looks like there. So I'll go through and I'll check for those as well. All right, this one's done. So let's keep walking. Again, these are muscadine vines, and I've been planting them all along my fence for the last few years. And I've probably got, I don't know, 12, 13, 14 now. Now, muscadines come in two different types. Actually, three. wild muscadines, and I've got one down here. This one is actually just forming right there. So it's not quite ready. So I'm going to let all of those come up, and then over the winter I'll pick the strongest one and prune out the rest. So that one's, we don't need to mess with that one today. That one's pretty young. All right, so back to muscadines. Oh, we've got a good one coming up here. Muscadines come in 3 different types: male, female, and self-fertile. Okay, so male muscadines do not produce fruit. They're usually found in the wild. They're not sold at stores. Very rarely will you find a male muscadine. So those are really sort of considered weeds here. But you need them to pollinate females. And in the wild, there's really only male and females. And sold varieties have developed self-fertile. So you've got male, female, and self-fertile varieties of muscadine vines. Now, I went through and I planted self-fertile and female. And what you have to do is you have to have the self-fertile near the female to pollinate it, because the self-fertile has male and female flowers, whereas the female only has female flowers. So when you're buying your muscadines, make sure you check, because if you buy all females, you're not going to have any fruit. So you got to have a mix of female and self-fertile varieties, okay? All right, let's take a look at this one here. We're just doing a quick pruning job. This one's probably year 2.5. So I'm just going to take off these bottom ones here. We've actually got a pretty strong main support branches coming out of it at the top. Okay. All right. Howdy, Virginia fruit grower. Thanks for joining. This is going to be, you could probably teach this course as well, so I'd love to hear your feedback on it. But we're just talking all about pruning muscadines in the summer and making sure that you've got that single vine coming up to your top trellis point and then splitting off. We've also been looking at tendrils that like to curl around the main support and just cleaning things up a bit. So thanks everybody for joining. Okay, pruning this out. Now this one's a little bit unique in that we've got some competing support vines here. So I've got this strong one here, we've got this one here, but I've also got this other one like underneath. You can't really see it very well, and I don't want that one to like take over. So I'm going to get in there, and it's a little tough on these fences, but now we've got a clear 2 support vines coming left and right. All right, that one's done. Let's move on. Oh, it looks like this one's got some flowers on it. Check that out. So we've got some flowers forming on this muscadine right there. So that will probably become grapes this year. I'm surprised that this one's already flowering so young as it is. All right, so let's keep going. No pit stops today. Trying not to get off track. All right, we've got another one here coming up. Let's check this one out. And again, I've got quite a few of these along my fence line. All right, so this one, wow, that's got a lot of flowers on it. Check that out. And you can see those little flowers there? So those are going to be pollinating soon. Okay, we've got a few down below. We're just going to clean this up. Hopefully you can see that. And I just like to go through and check on these sometime in the summer. Sort of hard to do while holding the camera. I don't want to miss. Okay, and this one. And again, we are just trying to get one solid main vine to the top, and then we're going to be splitting that at the top to go left and right. Okay. All right. Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. Yeah, I know you missed the one the other day. So, all right, so we got another one here. This one's a little bit smaller. We're just pruning grapes today. All right, so this one, let's see if I can set the tripod up so you can see it a little bit better. Don't want it to fall over. All right, so this one doesn't really have an established top yet. So I want to let this top go. It's really a lot younger than the others. There you go, you can see it a little bit better. And you can have this split a little lower like this if you want, but what I prefer is to have one go to the top and then have it split more up here. So I might cut this one back a little and prune it to split more along the top. I'll do that later. All right, we're going to do one pit stop today. One pit stop. Do you worry about bears with the berries? Great question. We don't have bears around here. Unfortunately, I don't know if any other animals. I think deer do like muscadine, so that's definitely something to be concerned about. I haven't had any issues with deer perusing my fence lines yet, but we're gonna make a pit stop. I know, lucky for sure. And this is a beautiful plant. I just have to show you because it's so amazing. This is a pineapple guava, and if you look, it's actually like 6 feet tall. It is a giant. Actually, I have two of these next to each other. Let's see if I can prop this here without it falling over. All right, so this whole thing is flowering, and it's one giant bush. And what I really think is neat about the pineapple guava is that, besides the fruit, is that the flowers are edible, and they're quite sweet. So take a look at all of these flowers. This is just loaded with flowers. And once you get it to this size, every year it just produces, and they're very drought tolerant. Here's another one, and you can see how big they are and beautiful. And then you can go, and you want to eat this part of the flower here, this little white part. Let's see if we can find a good one. You see those little white petals? You don't want to eat the red part. Okay, so just that little white pink part there. Great on top of salads. I love them. All right, let's keep talking about grapevines. Sorry, I'm trying not to get off track here. All right, we've got another one here. All right, this one is not a muscadine. This is European or an American table grape. And you can tell the difference in the leaves. And I'll show you because I saved that one. So this is your muscadine leaf, which is a little bit glossier and sort of a different shape. Okay. And this is another one here. Oh, hey, I've got a request to jump into the video. Let's see how this goes. All right, do we want to go live? But I am all about testing things out. So let's see if you want to join in the video. We can do a two-way chat on that. But anyway, back to different types. So muscadine, European. There's also like American hybrid table grapes, but very different. And the big key is sort of the glossiness of the leaves and the shape of the leaves, right? And the size. So a lot of difference. These are more disease resistant, especially in humid environments. These do better in colder, cooler climates, like in the mountains, further north. I'm in zone 8A, so they're going to do a little bit better north of here. So I do need to watch out. Now this one is getting a little bit out of hand, and he's going off the rails a little bit. So I need to get him back on track. So what I might do is actually take this one here and tie it to the top of my fence so that I can form a horizontal support along the top of the fence. I'm going to just lift this under these little convenient chain link tops. And I'm going to let that go sideways. I've also got a tendril here. Remember, we want to prune off these tendrils or they'll choke out vines. All right, I know that looks really ugly right now, but it is going to become another primary support over time. So this will go this way, and then I'll keep this one this way. All right, and then we're going to prune up the others that are growing along our primary vine, and let's keep walking. So today's all about the grapevine, but I do have some other news I want to share while we're talking and walking here, and that is I've got some exciting free gifts coming up for everybody. Something I've been working on for fruit trees and growing fruit trees in containers. So I'm super excited to share that, so stay tuned. I'm going to be posting about that here in the next day or two, so everybody can download that free gift. It's got a lot of good information in it. All right, let's see if we can lower this tripod a little. We're getting there. This is sort of the shady part. Now you can grow grapevines in the shade, but you'll just get a lot less fruit, okay? And if it's too much shade, you might not get any fruit. It obviously prefers full sun, but I don't have full sun through my whole property, so I'm just making the best I can with what I got. All right, this one here is sort of a mess, but we can clean that up real quick. Let's see if we can do it without dropping the tripod. I'm trying a new technique with this tripod here. All right, there we go. All right, so this one is loaded with fruit. This has a lot of fruit clusters on it, so we don't. I sort of want to keep that, but it's also growing very oddly indeed, because we've got one shooting up here, and this will probably become the primary, but there's all these other ones down below. And one of the things that I found is that if I cut all these ones below right away and I just leave one while it's still green, that it might not have enough leaves on it and like energy in it to really do well. So I want to just let this mess go, and then I'm going to prune this in the winter. I know that sounds a little bit strange because we're talking about summer pruning, but you really don't want to take away from the vigor of the plant too much until you've got this established. But I do want to show you what these grapes look like because it's pretty neat. So stand by. All right, so we've got lots of little grape clusters here. And you can see what these look like. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. So these are not muscadines. These are American table grapes. They're actually sort of a blend of European and other types, and they do a little bit better in our environment. All right, now we're getting to some more established grapes. So let's look at this one here. This one is probably 3 years old. It set fruit last year, which is nice. It is quite established, been well trained. So let's take a look at what we got going on. All right, so we've got a nice, thick, solid main stem coming up to 2 supports going left and right. We've actually got some grapes forming on it. I'm only going to cut this out, and I'm going to look for any tendrils that are curling along the main stem, which there are none. This one is pretty good shape. Let me show you what the grapes look like. So not much pruning needing to be done. I did most of the pruning in the winter, but you can see, hopefully you can see those grapes right there. And this is a pretty shady spot. So I was surprised to see that there were actually grapes forming on this, and I'll probably open up the sun in this area a little bit more just so that it can get some more fruit as it gets older. All right, here's one that's about 2 years old. Got a pretty thick bottom, but right along here it looks like it's just 1 year old wood. And so I'm gonna, because it's nice and rigid, I'm just gonna take off these bits here. That gives us one single support. And then I'm gonna let this top grow a little bit more, and then I'll decide which ones are gonna be the primary supports. All right, we're almost done here. Got a few more. All right, this is another well-established one. I wanna show you what it looks like towards the ground so you can see how thick these get. We've got, this is a very old, probably 4 years old, and then this is probably 3-year-old wood here. It's coming up to this point here. This is probably 3 years old, and you can see the older wood because it's got this like shaggy bark to it. See how it's got that on it? And this is last year's wood right there. That's got a smooth but still solid wood. And then this is this year's growth. That's that green wood. So it goes from green to solid smooth to shaggy bark to much thicker shaggy bark right there. All right, that one looks pretty healthy. I'm not sure there's much we're going to do on it. It's gotten pretty long, actually. All right. So So any questions that you all have about pruning your grapevines, love to answer them. Post them down below. We've got another muscadine here. This one's pretty well established. Definitely going to get fruit off that. In fact, you can actually see the grapes on that one forming. Not much to do on pruning. Now, I might, like midsummer, if they get too long, cut the ends off, because you don't want them going so far, right? You just want the grapevines to go, like this is probably my oldest one coming up, and we'll stand back here so you can really see the full size of it. All right, so this one is probably 10 feet this way and 10 feet this way. And this is really where you want them to end up, okay? Is that length, 10 feet and 10 feet. And it's pretty thick. And it produced fruit before. So you can see how rigid this main support is. And it's sort of funny, I actually transplanted this and it was on a shorter fence. So it's got a funny turn to it. And then this is the primary support branches going left and primary support branches going right. All right, so that pretty much wraps up everything about these grapevines and summer pruning. I do have one last one right here by my wood pile. It's a little bit unique. I need to trim it up a little. It's got a lot going on up top, but I'll do that after we're done. Any last questions for grapevines? All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining today. Really appreciate it. Make sure you stay tuned. I'm going to be releasing more information on growing your own fruit in containers and helping empower you to feel more confident in that. Otherwise, have a great Sunday evening.